Good Party says President Ramaphosa failed to take the bull by the horns by choosing to retain underperforming and corruption-implicated ministers in his reshuffled cabinet. The party's Brett Heron joins us now. Thank you very much, Mr. Heron, for your time. Let's talk firstly about your broad reactions to the cabinet reshuffle.
Well, I think the country was really looking for some credible changes that would give it hope. We've been living in despair for some months, especially with load shedding, poor economic performance, high unemployment, high poverty rates, and food insecurity. So I think we were looking for some changes that would demonstrate that the president was not going to tolerate underperformance and that there was no space to accommodate those who were implicated in any of the investigations around state capture or corruption. And the fact that there are some members of the cabinet who are widely regarded as having underperformed, have not implemented the president's own announcements, and who have been implicated in the State Capture Commission inquiry, for example, remain in the cabinet, I think is disappointing. There are some interesting appointments and some welcome appointments, and I think Dr. Ramaphosa, as a Minister of Electricity, he's highly regarded in both public and the private sector, and he has a massive challenge and task ahead of him. And the president did make it sound as if he would have the power and authority and mandate to address load shedding.
What do you make of the move for former Minister of Kochta, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, to minister within the presidency for women, children and persons with disabilities? What do you think that says about the president's relationship with Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma?
I think it says more about the president's the relationships within the ANC. I think most people expected that if anyone was going to be removed, she would be one of those who would be. And the fact that he's brought it into the presidency indicates that the president likes to keep this broad tent that makes up the ANC intact if he can. And so it's a move that will keep some factions in the ANC happy that she wasn't removed. I think it does give the opportunity for a very important portfolio at Kochta to take a new direction, especially as we see all these coalitions collapsing in big metros, Johannesburg, Tshwane, important metros in the city, in the country. And so Kochta really does need some attention, especially around some rules and regulations in the forming of governance.
You said you welcome the appointment of Minister Kgotshientsho Ramokgopa to the position of Minister of Electricity. However, some interesting announcements from the President in terms of the powers of the new Minister of Electricity, been given both political authority, and some might be worried that, coupled with the freedoms offered by the state of disaster to act without the impediment of immediate oversight, might be problematic. A lot of people were critical of the President's decision ahead of this cabinet reshuffle. What do you make of the announcement of those new powers and responsibilities?
Well, I was always concerned that the announcement of a Minister of Electricity was for an appearance of urgency, so that the president could give the appearance that he was acting with some urgency. What interested me more than anything else was whether the minister would have the power and the authority, or the mandate and the authority to turn our electricity crisis around. So the broad sweeping statement that the president made about the minister being given transferring powers and legislative powers to him, and taking complete control of ensuring the supply of electricity to homes and businesses. And if the minister doesn't have those powers and that authority and that mandate, then it would really be a waste of time ministry. So I'm happy that there are the powers and the mandate that goes with the ministry, and we have to just be vigilant around how those powers are exercised. But I think in general, I could say that Dr. Ramokgopa is a safe pair of hands.
You also mentioned some welcome changes in terms of new additions to the cabinet. Talk to us about the surprises, the welcome faces that you're glad to see.
Well, I've been concerned around the instability in the Transport Ministry. I mean, South Africa has some really excellent legislation and policies that were introduced in around 2009, so it's almost 14 years ago. But over the last 14 years, we have our 7th Minister of Transport. And so there's been massive instability in the transport space. And the new Minister, Chikunga, is an excellent, I think, appointment because she's been the Deputy Minister since, I think, about 2012. So she has a long history with the Department of Transport, understands the space. And I think if she can outlive and outlast the elections that take place next year, hopefully we will see some turnaround in the transport space due to her experience and the continuity. So that is a welcome appointment. And as I said, in the cooperative governance and traditional affairs, there's some new energy there with the appointment of the new minister in Dabiken. I mean, she's been the deputy minister, she's been a mayor, and she was the president of SALGA, and she will understand better than most what it takes to keep local governments operating and what stability and what measures need to be put in place to provide continuity and stability in these coalition governments. And so I'm hoping that she will focus there.
One last question before I let you go. If the Good Party had one wild card, one addition to the changes that the President made this evening that he could neither, that he could not deny you, who would you have removed and who would you have put in their place?
Well, I mean, I would prefer not to get into personalities and individuals, but I think that in the energy space, the fact that the shareholder minister remains in place and the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy remain in place, despite failing to implement the President's July 2022 energy crisis plan. One of the announcements he made was that there would be a doubling of the procurement of renewable energy in bid window 6 from 2,600 megawatts to 5,200 megawatts. And what was announced in December 2022 was less than 1,000 megawatts. And so I think that if the President wanted to demonstrate that when he asks or he announces a plan to address a crisis, that if the ministers do not deliver on that, on his commitment to the nation, that there are consequences for that.
So the Good Party would have removed Minister for Energy and Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, not due to personal reasons, but purely due to non-performance in specific areas of alternate energy implementation. Thank you very much from the Good Party, Brett Heron, for giving us some reaction to the President's cabinet reshuffle this evening.